Awesome. We're live on YouTube.
Cool. We're live everywhere.
Take those up. Hi, my name is Bucky Beeman, commercial real estate agent in Rochester, Minnesota. And Tanner and I met up thanks to an introduction from someone here in Rochester. And we decided to have a little Q&A, go back and forth on my YouTube. So we're live on YouTube right now, and we're also going to be recording it. So we save it as a podcast. And you got this thing recording too, don't you?
Yep. We're on Facebook Live right now, and I'm Tanner Nordlund, Premier Real Estate Services, working down here in Rochester, and happy to be here.
So Tanner, where are you from originally?
Originally from St. Cloud, and then I recently got married in August, and my wife works at IBM down here, so that's what brings me down to Med City. So.
And so far, how long have you been in the Med City?
3 months.
Nice.
Yep, 3 months, and really liking it a lot, getting settled in, and we purchased a place over in Country Club Manor, and we're loving it.
Awesome. And so far with Rochester, what's some of the little things you've done, some of the things you've experienced? Have you been anywhere yet in Rochester, or are you just getting moved in?
Yeah, we've been around a little bit. You know, my wife and I are a little bit of foodies. So we've been to Five West and a few other places in town that we really like, and really like the number of parks in town. We're kind of avid hikers, like to get out. I love cross-country skiing, trying to get my wife into it. So
cool.
I might have spoiled her Christmas gift on this podcast. But.
As far as real estate, talk about your experience so far, the 3 months here in Rochester. Is the residential market, is it hot? Is the market in general hot? What's going on?
Yeah, I would say, there's a general slowdown at this time of year. Not a lot of people like to move during the school year, so that's kind of an annual slowdown a little bit. But I would say, overall, if I was going to say right now, it's a little tight. The market's tight just because of that school and the time of year and stuff. But I think we're going to see continued growth over the next couple of years because I think lending is still sound. It's not like anything you'd see in 2008. I think the lending's been very tight, and I think especially Rochester with the job market that's here, we're going to see many years of slower growth. I don't think we're going to see like the 8%, 10% jumps in value that we did, after the big crash. But I think it'll be a little more controlled, a couple percent every year, something more stable, in my opinion.
Neat. Talk about your home experience and just finding a home in the Rochester market. Was it tough? Was it?
Yeah. So when we were looking, there were still quite a few homes on the market, and my wife, I think I drug her to probably 16 or 18 different homes. We looked everywhere, every different part, and it was a pretty smooth process. I guess what else you are wondering about the process?
How many houses did you look at?
I think it was 18 total. Yeah. So she started to get into it, So yeah, I'm a realtor, so when you look for yourself, it's like I want to see, everything that's here, especially being new to the market. Part of it was I want to find a house for us, but I also want to learn the market here.
Okay.
The different areas and different price ranges, what does stuff go for, and with the number of businesses that are in town, the number of jobs, that really supports the housing market a lot, which is really cool.
With the apps that you were using or she was using, you probably have access to the local MLS.
Yep.
Were you recommending any apps that she kind of keeps up on to
check
out?
So I recommend Realtor.com.
Before
I was licensed, that's one that I really liked. That's the one that my wife has really found that she likes. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there. Zillow and Redfin and all these other ones. But I don't know. I like the interface on Realtor.com, so does she. So that's what she uses.
And is it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the homes that are on Realtor.com, it's coming directly from the MLS.
Yep.
Without any.
Yep. Most of those listing sites, they're pulling their data directly from the MLS. It's not like instant. There's a little bit of lead time on that, but all those are pulling their data directly from the MLS.
Okay.
Yep.
So in the commercial world, what we're often using is a platform called LoopNet, and they really were the first to own the space, I would call, within the Google search.
Mm-hmm.
And in commercial, people go to Google, they type in commercial real estate, whatever community they're looking for, and LoopNet ranks extremely high because they've done a great job of getting that spot as number one on Google, spending huge ad dollars, raising a lot of money and charging a lot to those that use the platform to continually be number one on all searches across the country. So we don't use like Realtor.com as much as we do LoopNet and the app that they have.
Got it. So you're looking on LoopNet a lot. How about do you guys use the MLS often, or?
So our firm does market on the MLS. Not every commercial real estate firm that I know of does.
Mm-hmm.
The real value we see from it is it allows for additional marketing for our clients that we have listings with. And we're not opposed to working with any realtor, even if they've never done a commercial transaction before. We'll talk to them and we'll figure out how we can navigate towards reaching the goals of their client and our client to get a closed transaction. So
Sure.
we do market on the MLS, and it has led to deals getting done. But I will still say that LoopNet, whether some realtors like it or not in the commercial world, they are a huge lead source because of how high they rank on Google and how much people use Google to kind of start their search if they're looking for space.
Sure, sure. And I know, you're a young man, as am I.
How old are you?
I'll be 25 this month.
Okay.
Yep. How about you?
28.
28.
So 29 in May next year.
Okay, nice. So being a millennial in real estate and seeing these new platforms come in like LoopNet and different things like that, do you see what changes, I guess, have you seen in commercial real estate with the new technology coming in?
One of the big things I see is just realtors recognizing the value of having their listings online. When I started in the business, not very many people did. Now that I've been in the business since 2008/9, it is almost unlikely that you won't see someone's listing online unless they are trying to sell it to somebody without having to go through maybe all those showings or maybe getting as much exposure as they want for the fact that it leads to just more showings, and it leads to just more people showing up, and sometimes you can get it. It only takes one buyer, right?
Right.
So you don't always need to spread it out to everybody in the entire internet world.
Okay, so playing off that a little bit, do you think there's a point where you've exposed a property too much? Which sounds like no right away, but I'm wondering your thoughts.
In the commercial world, it's funny at times for the fact that there are some listings that have an operating business in them, and you have to be very careful about whether or not you want to market that building for sale. Let's say the business is leasing, or let's say the business owner is looking to move on or lease back, whatever the case is, it can affect their operating business. So we have to be careful at times of marketing too much. But if they're not concerned about that confidentiality of their building being known for sale, or they're not concerned about the questions it might bring up from their customers, then I don't think so. I think the more exposure, the better. I think the more exposure leads to more agents seeing it. And then I also think it leads to more buyers finding the listing, which then in turn leads to, in times, like we're seeing today with lower interest rates, a competitive offering process.
Right.
Multiple offers, over asking price, better terms, whether it be less contingencies, things like that.
Yeah, because that would be my thought. Would be you want to expose it as much as possible. Well, coming from the residential side, the more eyeballs you have on that, the better. So I mean, if you got to post it obviously on the MLS, but to Craigslist and some social media stuff, the bigger pool of potential buyers you have, the better. But again, we don't have to factor in a business that has current clients, and then that business goes up for sale very publicly. And then that client starts wondering, well, I want someone who's going to be around or whatever. I could see where that could become an issue with that. That's interesting.
And what I am seeing now, and I'm sure it's similar in the residential world, our buyers are finding listings before we find them due to the internet.
Yeah.
And so they'll maybe be set up on a notification or just be keeping a closer eye on a certain channel. And so at times they'll find it before we even find it, which I don't think is a bad thing. But it is different than when I started, to where I feel as though the buyers had to rely more on a real estate agent to find the deals.
Yeah.
Because of the internet, it is changing that. And I would say that the additional services, advice, as we talked about earlier, just being an advisor as a real estate agent is even more important. I view our team as, advisors to our clients, and we're helping more with more than just, here's the deal, I found it, now let's work towards closing. It's like, here's the deal, let's talk through, is this a good deal for you? Does it match up with what your future goals are? Is it something that you want to bring partners into? Can we help you find partners? So we're definitely advising more than just finding
Yeah,
deals.
I think you touched on a major major concern, or I don't know if I want to say concern, but thought I think a lot of agents today are having, especially ones that are more senior than we are, that it has changed. Buyers are finding those things, and we have to adapt to that. And I think what you said, being an advisor instead of just someone who just looks and finds things, I think that's going to be not only a good thing to do, but a necessity probably in the future. In my opinion, because if if these buyers are finding their stuff, you got to be that advisor. You got to help them, through the process and add as much value as you can, because the value we could add of, hey, I found a deal, is slowly going away.
One thing I'm interested to see what happens as well as time goes on. I would say if you look at a majority of the brokerages, they're spending a lot of money on the listing platforms, aka Zillow, LoopNet, Realtor.com, MLS, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Now with the opportunity to do additional ad spend in the social media realm, why aren't we viewing, especially in commercial, I know residential does a better job at this, but why are we not viewing Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat even as a listing platform? Meaning there is people's attention on those platforms, and if we can view those as listing platforms for ourselves, we can then have ad dollars being spent against our listings, which helps reach more people than...
Which reaches that goal of you want as big of a buyer pool as possible when the situation applies, which would be basically all of residential and then a good chunk of commercial.
Right.
No, I totally agree.
So I think there's going to be even more, let's say, disruption in the ad spend side of things from real estate agents as more and more real estate agents or their brokerages or the vendors that they're working with recognize the power of how they can spend money in those platforms that help lead to the goal of selling that property or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, because expanding that thought, anything where you can get eyeballs on the listing and it's not offensive, and what I mean by offensive is sometimes, realtors will post things on their Facebook and they all post the same thing, and like their friends actually get annoyed with it. That's what I mean by offensive. But something, when you're using social media, doing it in a way that's, accepted, like if you put it in your story on a different platform and that's what people expect from it, and that's what they go there for, absolutely put some ad money towards that. You're going to reach a different audience at a different time, most likely, and it's just, you might touch on the same person a couple different times, and that's sales.
And I will say that I see a lot of real estate agents around the country doing a really good job online with the branding side of things, where they're really, really good at getting their name known and really, really good at putting themselves out there. I know they're out there, but I'm excited to see as people start to use those platforms for specific sales related to properties that they then can, sorry, I just
I saw that.
rang
You're
on my
good.
iPad. We'll see if it's still live. But they then can document that I sold a property because I did this ad spend, basically.
You can. Yeah, I can say here's the proof is in the pudding. It's right here. Yeah,
Right.
Cool. So I guess I have a question, just kind of in general of commercial, because I'm getting my feet wet in commercial right now. I've got a bar and restaurant for sale out in Lewiston, and what are the nuts and bolts that you would want to explain to someone as far as like marketing a commercial space that would be totally different than a residential space?
Well, one thing that I think is important to recognize, and this is in any sales, like boots on the ground still matters, so targeting what is a potential buyer and actually reaching out to them in the means of email, phone call, going to their place of business, like that's
IMs,
never going to go away.
DMs.
Now, I think the unique thing is, just like you said, you can communicate with these people in ways that maybe other sales reps haven't communicated with them on, and so their attention will be there, and that might convert them to have some interest or inquire more for additional information.
Sure.
So that's one way that I think it potentially can work. I'm going to just adjust my phone here.
Oh, you go for it.
Yeah, that green kind of affected it.
You're good.
There we go. You got some people on your Facebook?
Yes, I do. Nancy, Ryan, shout out. What's up? Glad you're here.
Thank you. So yeah, I think
Thank you
it'll
very
be
much.
interesting to watch how that will, affect. Sorry, we were going back to your commercial listing. So, knocking on doors matters. Now, some tips that I would have would be, and we talked about this, about your listing specifically, of some ideas would be like, can you reach out to people that may know your potential buyer that has better access to that potential buyer? And is there a way of trying to access their contact base that then leads to someone buying that property? So the example we had is, well, all these bars in Southeast Minnesota, restaurants in Southeast Minnesota have something in them that a vendor is providing services to that restaurant or bar. And for example, can you get a hold of the pop distributor? And would he then be able to circulate your listing to some additional people? Could you get a hold of the pull tab distributor? Whatever.
Right, and get a list from them or have them circulate it. Yeah, that would be a very unique thing that I've never heard before today.
Yeah.
But it's very, very intelligent, right way to go about it. Because like you said, they're in contact with all of them. They know them all.
Right.
So it's a good place to start.
The one I don't know very well, but I think there's potential in it, is LinkedIn, because it's more of the professional platform.
Yep.
And people put their job titles and people put where they work. And so let's say, for example, you have a bar restaurant listed for sale with the real estate, and you are looking for somebody that's currently a manager at a location that doesn't own, but you feel like you could help, advise them to get financing and own their own business. Can you get into their feed on LinkedIn to where it actually converts them to want to be interested in your listing?
Yeah, you might have to do that the old-fashioned way and just look up a restaurant, try to find, who it is, search for them on LinkedIn, or maybe you can, like you, I think, are getting to, is search for, GMs on LinkedIn and see how many you can pull up. And you'd probably have to do it all, just start, messaging them directly, start the conversation, Right. It's definitely a newer avenue.
But you can also pull ads against people working
specific
here,
ones. Yeah, you could.
Working here, right?
Yep.
I don't know if that's your money best spent, but I think that potential is
probably
there
worth
now
a
with
shot.
those
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah.
So does that help answer the question of how do you sell,
a commercial listing
in a different way?
Yeah, I guess it does. You just got to find what I'm getting from it is you just got to find your right buyer, just like we would in residential, but you're going to find them in a different place, and they're going to want different things from you, I'm assuming, and they're going to want more numbers in commercial, and everybody knows that, but
one other thing that I think is unique, you did it that I saw with your listing, is you helped educate people about the opportunity in a different way.
Yeah.
If you think of the standard way of doing it, it's here's the listing, here's the size, here's the square footage, and it's for sale. And the way that I saw you do it is, different than that. So maybe explain that.
Yeah.
process.
So I thought it might be a good idea to really, with my commercial bar and restaurant that I'm selling, to target that end consumer and kind of help them dream a little bit. Because I think a lot of potential buyers are exactly that. They're potential. They're thinking about it. They're not sure yet. So when I did my listing and I did a video on it, I really just kind of explained, are you sick of your 9 to 5? Have you thought about owning a restaurant? Have you thought about running your own bar? And then I kind of went into some specifics of the property to say, hey, this one's got, built-in rentals to lower the risk. It's got guaranteed income coming in right away. So for someone who's, maybe they are a GM and they're worried about making the next jump to owning, like, oh, that's something, I could do. I'm used to managing, But yeah, I try to just kind of paint a picture, paint the dream for them. Because if somebody sees that and that's all it took, was a little more information and someone to help them paint the picture, that's kind of being that advisor, kind of like you were saying, But I thought that was kind of a unique way to do it, and we'll see how it turns out.
Absolutely. Now thinking about where our technology is headed, how we're just now distributing all this on live, how we got podcasts going, we're going to have a recorded MP3.
Yep.
What would you say about how that's affecting our industry, broadly in real estate? Being able to do podcasts, being able to do live, what's happening?
Well, I think it does two things. I think it raises the bar for what you maybe have to do to be successful in the industry. If you really want to get your name out there and you want to really grab a hold of everything that's out there that you can use, you got to learn a lot of new stuff. You got to really dig in your hands into these platforms, understand how can I leverage this to bring me more business. And I think if you're not doing that, you should, and just like you showed me yesterday, Instagram, it's something that I do a little bit with, but want to learn a lot more about. I do primarily Facebook stuff, but you want to be in this, like Uncle G says, you just want to do everything, attack everything, be everywhere, and I think the other part of it that's important besides learning all the new stuff is, finding out where's your time best spent,
Right.
That would be my two probably points.
I think because of the internet, people are more willing to share than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
So that knowledge going back and forth between one another, because it's all out there, relatively speaking, online, tips, tricks, ideas. And so I think that's neat because I feel like young professionals like ourselves can really advance much quicker than we could have in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what's out there on the internet and how we can just find information so much quicker and faster.
Yep. Yep. All that everything's changing. So, yeah. So if you wanted to make sure everybody knew your name 20 years ago, you did all the traditional stuff, which still works. We could name names, but there's some people out there doing traditional stuff that everybody's heard of. But now, yeah, you can have access to such a large number of people and targeting. You can target through these platforms the people you want to hear you. You can grow really fast.
That's neat.
Yeah.
One thing I commend you with is just your branding. I saw your Jeep. What's on the side of your Jeep?
Oh, yeah. So building a brand's important. So I own a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, and a lot of Jeeps say Rubicon on either side of the hood, but I put Realtor instead on there, kind of a play on words. And my Jeep's Army green, so I put a big white star on the side with my company logo. And then the old Army Jeeps, they always had a model number on the back fender. Well, I got my phone number on there. Cool. So it's kind of a cool way, creative way to do, wrap a vehicle without it making look like it's just another wrapped business vehicle. A little creative.
And I like how you're tying traditional into, the technology side of marketing as well. I mean, it's from stickering your vehicle to being able to share stuff on social, to marketing your properties in a different way.
Yep.
If you start firing on all cylinders, I think the opportunities are out there. It's just a matter of time.
You're maximizing your exposure to opportunities, right? The more you're moving, the more you'll bump into stuff. It's I definitely think that works. So
sure. If people want to find out more about real estate that you are selling or get advice from you, where can they reach you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on my Facebook page, Tanner's Home Search. You can find it on my profile, or you can just search it at the top of the Facebook bar. Or you can go to medcityhomesearch.com. That'll bring you to, again, another platform that's hooked directly to the MLS. If you're looking for properties, it's a great one to use. Faster than a lot of other ones out there because it goes right through our brokerage to the MLS. So it's a very good one.
And if you're looking for anything commercial real estate related in Southeast Minnesota, you can reach our team at rgi-group.com or Realty Growth Incorporated. Also, I am on Facebook, Bucky Beeman, and Instagram and Snapchat. So thank you, everybody, for checking out this podcast, and we look forward to checking out the comments and keep questions coming in.
Thanks.
See you, Tanner.
Yep, see ya. That was good. Hello, this is Tanner.
Tanner.
Yes, sir.
When are you gonna be home?
Oh, yes, I'm just leaving now. I've got the title in my glove box, so I'm just on my way over. So I'll be there in like 8 minutes, 10 minutes.
All right.
All right, see you soon.